Yes. So let me just get this recording started. So yes, today we will start with around 20-30 minutes of Q&A, and then we will be joined by Steve Hoover of BrightMLS. He's going to go over some new features of the BrightMLS platform. So if you have any questions or comments about the BrightMLS platform, save them for Steve. He'll be able to answer all those questions. So in the meantime, let's get started with our Q&A. Any questions for Delia? Just fire away.
No questions, huh?
I have a question.
Okay, Joseph.
I was wondering how I keep running into this, but agents write up contracts and then don't perform to it, potentially to the detriment of their clients. But in this particular case, there was a radon addendum in the contract, but nothing was sent to me until almost 3 weeks after the deadline on the inspection addendum. And it was just tossed to me and said, let me know when the mitigation's done. No acknowledgement that they were 3 weeks late sending it to me. So just wondering, it seems like there's the only leverage you really have is the seller to tell them no, and then hope, they still have other outs under the financing addendums and so forth. So it's like you can't do anything about it. So I just want to get your take on that.
Yeah, I'm finding a lot of things, especially in the last year, even in the last 6 months, that, I have contracts come in with no financing contingency, but yet they're going conventional FHA. I'm thinking, well, that makes no sense. And, as when you represent the seller, that sounds great. Wow, no financing contingency, but there is one, and so you have to make sure that, and then the agent says, well, no, they have good credit, everything's great, that's why we're not doing contingency on financing. I said, well, that's the most silliest thing I've ever heard. I said, what if they lose their job? Then what? So even though I represented the seller, you have to make sure at the end of the day, yeah, we can go after the EMD, but they're going to fight over it. Why go there? Make a clean contract, making sure everybody on all sides are performing the way they're supposed to be performing. Because we're out there representing our buyers or our sellers, and going in clean and going in right with all the expectations there is the best way to do it.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm kind of inclined because the way the radon addendum, this is a GCAR addendum, addendum of clauses, it says that the seller has 3 days to answer when they send the radon report. It also says they're supposed to send the form with it too, which they didn't send. But since they're late, why would we have to answer within 3? You don't have to.
You don't have to.
So I'm kind of inclined to telling my clients to wait and see if there's any issues with FHA or other issues that come up.
In Montgomery County,
agree to do the mitigation.
But in Montgomery County, it's a required. You have to get a radon done.
Well, we got the test done, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
But it's not required that we mitigate. It's just that.
No. Somebody has to be done, but it doesn't say in the paperwork who does it. You're right.
Yeah. So I think what we'll probably do is wait and see if anything else pops up before we agree to do that. But in fact, I'm the one that asked her for it because I knew I needed it. But she sent it 3 weeks after the deadline and said, let me know when it's mitigated. It's like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm seeing a lot is, and if it happened to any of you guys, let me know, but everybody's going in there with the occupancies or post occupancy, 3 months free. Has anybody seen any of that go on?
Yeah.
Well, what's happened here in the last 2 days with 2 different agents is they both, they represented the buyers and the seller wanted to stay 90 days free or 90 days paying. It doesn't matter. The problem with that is anything after 60 days is considered a lease. Okay. So you have to remember that, and it's going to cause a problem for the loan. Kyle, are you out there? I saw him earlier.
I'm here.
Okay.
What was
Kyle,
the question?
So what I'm seeing is agents are putting in that the sellers can stay 90 days after settlement. Okay. The problem with the loan is that 60 days. After 60 days, it's considered a lease. So what has happened is now it's making the loan become an investment property instead of a home, an occupancy, occupying the property. It's happened twice in 2 days that we've had to renegotiate that. Can you explain on the financial side, the problem with that?
Yeah, I mean, when you do conventional or FHA financing, and you're doing an owner-occupied property, rates are different than if you were to do an investment property. And if you don't occupy the home within 60 days, then it's considered the investment. So you sign a disclosure at settlement, before settlement, when you're doing the initial disclosures that says, I intend to occupy this property in 60 days. Now, if the home was the intent is the key there. If you sign a contract that says 90 days, you're not intending to occupy it in 60 days. But if after 60 days, you haven't occupied it for one reason or another, it's not, as long as it wasn't in the contract, it's not going to be something that comes up or the lender's going to check on. But if it's in the contract, you're already violating that 60-day rule.
Yeah, so just keep in mind, if the sellers want to stay, it cannot go beyond 90 days or 60 days, 60 days.
And so what is the penalty?
Kyle?
Well, there's no, the financing wouldn't go through. I mean, if you're doing an owner occupied property, then that already disqualifies that loan program. So then you would have to do an investment property loan if that was the case, which would not be in the benefit of the buyers whatsoever. The interest rate's higher. A lot of times the down payment that you're looking at for an investment property is higher. So it completely changes the guidelines as far as what we would have to do to qualify the person. So it's not, their interest rate is typically, 0.5% to 1.5% higher than what you would see on a standard, first-time home buyer or conventional loan where you're occupying the property. If they really want the house, then it's definitely possible to look at something like that, but it's not in our buyers. If you're representing the buyer, it's not in their best interest.
So then the seller, knowing this, will not ask for 90 days.
Well, they don't know it because the agents don't know it. That's why I'm bringing this up. It's happened twice in 2 days, yesterday and today.
I have another question is, this property, the current owner actually has their relative that upstairs is a completely separate entrance. It's like almost like a 2 units. My buyer intended to buy it as a primary first-time home, but my buyer told the seller's relative, who is like a nephew or anyway, the family that live upstairs, say they can stay while they're moving the first floor, because they have separate entrance. The house was built with the addition with the separate entrance. And in this case, my question is, should my buyer ask the current seller's relative to move out? Because do you understand it? Is the property come with almost like allowed to have 2 family live there?
Is your buyer moving into it?
Yes. Yeah, but they say, well, it's enough space because first floor has a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Upstairs is 4-bedroom, 1 bath. It has its own kitchen, has a separate entrance. It was built like original was one single family, and then the seller later on added addition with the separate entrance, and the seller has been kind of rented to the seller's relative for very low rent.
Yeah, well, as long as the lender, I mean, who's doing the loan, and if he's going to occupy the house, I don't think this applies, right, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I understood the question completely, but I mean, it's not, if they want to continue to live in there, that's not an issue if it's a 2-unit.
Yes.
Whether they can use the income from the potential rent, I mean, that's definitely a possibility to use that towards the loan, but there's not going to be an issue with the loan as long as it's disclosed that it's a 2-unit and that the buyer is occupying one of the units and whoever occupies the other, it's not a big deal. But as long as they occupy it, it's still an owner occupied, if that's what the question was.
I mean, is this one house?
It is a one house. It's not commercial unit or I mean, I'm not saying commercial. It's not, I guess not intended to be, I don't know, whatever the seller is doing right now. It's like they build addition later on and then have the nephew family move in and been living there for a long time. And the buyer doesn't feel like kick them out right away. Kind of like, okay, well, you can stay while we were moving in the first floor. We want to do some renovations stuff. So there's like a verbal agreement, say, okay, you can stay. You don't really, because the seller did tell the relatives, say you may have to move out if the buyer if I'm selling this property.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess that there's, and I'm not on this side of things, so some people here may know more, but that would then go to like the tenant agreement and the tenant's rights and stuff like that. So they would have to give a notice and when they wanted them to move out and probably have a lease in place. But there's nothing wrong with the buyer's relative staying there. If the buyer's okay with it, or the seller's relative staying there, if the buyer's okay with it, it wouldn't create an issue for financing. Unless you're trying to do something different than what you've just stated, or you're trying to do something like backdoor. But no, it sounds like it's fine as long as the buyer's aware of that and the seller's relatives aware that they could kick them out or make a move.
And from long point of view, as a first-time home buyers, it's okay, right? Because they want to move in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And just so you know, in the post-settlement occupancy, whether you use the G car, the PG, the SMAR, they don't act, what they do is they reference Title 8, okay, which is the Maryland law under Title 8. What Title 8 is which says in Maryland law is anything after 60 days is considered a lease. And that's where the problem's at. So these post-occupancies say it, except ACAR doesn't say anything about Section 8 or Title 8 or anything. The Anne Arundel one doesn't, but all the other ones do. And what that's referencing is anything after 60 days is considered a lease. So that's why it's a problem with the loan.
I mean, who does the relative pay rent to after whatever time?
Oh, are you talking about that? It's going to pay to the new buyers. Is that what you're asking? Because after the
that's what I'm
settlement,
asking, because
after the settlement, the buyer going to become a new landlord, not the seller. Seller is a relative with rented at a very cheap rate, and we run into this relative of the sellers and talk to them about it, and then we say we need to increase the rent because your relative give you a really very good rate. But if you want to stay, this is going to be a new rate. And they say, no problem, I'd prefer to stay. And then they say, well, you need to have a new lease with the, secure deposits, everything with the standard lease agreement. And so after the settlement, the relative's going to pay the new buyers. That's all. So should we disclose to the loan officer what their process getting a secured loan?
I don't see why that would be a big deal, just because that's not, unless you're trying to use that income as an accessory unit income, then you would need to disclose it then. But if you don't need to, if there's not, it doesn't matter towards the lending process. In other words, if they can afford the house without using that income or with the promise of that income, then it's no need to bring it up because they're going to occupy the property within 60 days. And whether somebody else is or not, not up, that's not the lender's concern, to be honest.
Does anybody out there have any challenging stories they would like to share in this market?
Hi, Delia. Before we move on to that, Lisa Gallagher, I just joined recently.
Yes.
I'm happy to be on board. Can I ask Kyle just a quick follow-up question to what was just asked? Kyle, if that was a fully permitted accessory apartment, a second dwelling, and they occupy, you're saying that would not, the lender would not be interested in that at all. The financing would be structured the same.
I mean, if it's disclosed as a 1-unit property or a 2-unit property, or however many units it is, as long as it's disclosed accurately, meaning the listing says 2 units, you said 2 units, the contract says it's a 2-unit property and everything, and the lender knows that, then that's fine. But if you're trying to do something outside of that, where maybe you want to use the rental income from the other unit, or once you get into 3-4 units, that can change pricing and requirements on loans. So if the lender doesn't know that it's a 2-unit property, or they plan to get rent from it or something like that, but you don't need it to qualify, then it shouldn't be an issue whatsoever.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question
That
exactly.
does.
Okay.
I know it's not commercial, it's not above 4 units. I was just wondering if they would even be interested in it if it was a fully permitted accessory apartment as far as financing, but that answers my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any stories they would like to share or challenges that they've had? No one? Sandy, how about you? Is she out there?
She might just be listening. If not, I think Steve Hoover from BrightMLS is here a little bit early, so we can just transition into his side of things if you guys like. Hey, Steve, you there?
Yeah, so I'm here. All set to go.
Awesome. So did you want to share your screen or anything like that, or just wanted to talk about?
Yes. No, I'll share my screen. So let's go ahead and get started. And little intro. It's going to be a combination of PowerPoint and I'm going to go in live. Again, my name's Steve Hoover. I'm the customer success coach for Bright. And I cover Anne Arundel, Prince George's, Montgomery, and DC for Bright. And we're going to go over some updates. And you can get any of the latest updates here. All right, they're under www.brightmls.com, number release notes. And if you're interested, I do want to mention, please make sure your contact information is up to date. In other words, email addresses, phone numbers, make sure they're up to date if Bright needs to contact you. Also your license information. And by that, I mean your expiration date. Of course, you renew your license every 2 years. We don't get that information from the state. So it's up to you to update your expiration date. So just a little reminder there. What I'm going to do actually, before I get into the slides, because the slides kind of cover things that in the past, but we actually had an update last night and information just came out. So I didn't have time to do the updates, but I do want to go over the updates that just happened last night. So these are the latest, greatest updates, some things that may be helpful to you. Nothing major, just some additional entries, you might say. So let's scroll down a bit. And actually what I'll do, I'll tell you what, I will put this in chat before we go too far. And that way you can click on these yourself and check them out. All right, they're in chat now. Whoops, I'm going to work this out. Let me move that out of the way here. New bathroom pick lists. All right, we added a Jack and Jill bathroom and attached bathroom. So new options under the bathroom or room type pick list, I should say. As you can see, this is where it would be on the pick list. So if you have any of those options, now you can actually include them on the listing. And of course, when you search for those, they are searched under the room features, which is an added field. And field you have to add at the bottom. It's not on the standard search screen, but those options will be searchable there if you want to find them. All right, other things. All right, as I mentioned, attached. So just to explain what attached, it's a bathroom that is attached to a single bedroom. And of course, everyone knows, I think, what a Jack and Jill, of course, it's between 2 bedrooms. Just a little more explanation there. Dog park now available in the HOA condo co-op amenities. So you can add that to your listing. This is what it would look like in the listing if you add it. And if you want to search by it, it would be under the HOA condo amenities drop-down list. You'd find it in there if you want to search by it. Convector. Whoops, got to get it in the screen. Convector has been added as a pick list option to heating type and cooling type. I had some agents out in the DC area that said these were in lots and lots of buildings in the DC area, and they wanted this added. It took me several times to finally convince Bright to add these. Now, obviously, you may not even have heard of a convector. I personally hadn't, but these are apparently in some of the older condo buildings in that area. So some of these things are added for specific areas, more so than other areas, but they're important for the people in those areas. Okay, so it is under building and utilities, and you can also search it under cooling types when you're on the search screen. And now, when you add in a subdivision and it's not there, of course, you have to pick it from a pick list. Otherwise, you have to say you can't have it. Basically, you put in unavailable or something. I don't remember. None available. Well, we've made it easier when you're in there. Okay. When you're adding the subdivision and there's no subdivision name, to request that one added. So as you see, a little highlight will come up here and it will allow you to click a here, which will take you to the screen where you can enter the request for the new subdivision. Okay, so a little easier. The request field has been there a while, but it wasn't easy to get to. You had to know where to find it. Now it's easy to find because it's right next here. When you hover over here, this will open up and you'll be able to click here and you'll be able to add those directly in, or not add those, request that they be added, I might say. Also, when you're adding the photo and you get a corrupt image, it's easy to delete the corrupt image now. And it will tell you if it's a corrupt image. All right, so those are the things that happened last night. So we updated some things. So you've seen, this is the latest and greatest of what we've added. Let's go back to my slides here. So we're going to talk about some things that are older. This, I don't know, this came out in December. And of course, December is a time that people are busy. They have other things going on. They may have missed this. This is a neat function. How many times, and let me show you, actually, I want to show you how this works. How many times have you've had a client say, they're looking for a particular property in a particular school district. And of course, you could search for it, right? The problem with searching for it and searching by a name, half the listings don't list any names. So you're going to miss half the listings. The other way was to go into the map, okay, which we will do. Let me also show you a little trick while I'm here. Of course, no, I've had to move the map around. I've had to zoom in. Basically, if you click on the gear here and you click set this map view as my starting default, that will be your starting default. You won't have to zoom in and move the map around each time. But the reason I went here is, of course, you have this other option to look at these school districts under the layers option on the map. So if I click high schools, okay, those were here. And previous to this enhancement, you could actually go out and select one of these shapes and draw around the shape of the school district. Well, the change that happened in December was if you click this little hand, and this hand doesn't appear till I select the schools, click on the little hand here, okay, move your cursor away, notice it turns orange or yellow. And then what you can do is put your cursor right on top of that school district you're interested in and click. And as you see, it'll highlight the school district and also highlight the properties within that school district. Okay, so I'll do that one more time, and I'll do that one more time because you can do multiple ones. You have somebody interested in Arundel, maybe someone over here on Old Mill High. Let's click that school district. And that school district is now listed here. And there we go. Boy, that's a wide-ranging school district. But now the properties within the school district will appear under results here. Now, of course, keep in mind with any school district, if it is important to your client, make sure they or you or somebody double checks and make sure that the particular property they're interested in is within the school district, if that's important to them. Okay. Questions on that?
Yes.
Yes.
I
All right.
have a question on that. I have had the occasion where people have asked to do house searches based on the school district.
Mhm.
However, I have been in a situation, and I personally live in a situation where the school district changes all the time. So I've kind of stayed away from that. And even if I had to do it, I would always tell them that that's subject to change because they're always rezoning neighborhoods based on schools where I work at most of the time. They're
Right.
changing
So
constantly.
I do have a question. Do they do that during the school year though?
They don't do it during the school year,
Okay.
but personally, I've experienced with my own family with the school district, having one child. I've been zoned for 3 different high schools, and when that
Mhm.
happens, they don't allow you to stay. So
Mhm.
I've had 3 different high schools that my children have graduated from.
Mm-hmm. No, and
And
of
the
course,
residence has not changed. And then it
yeah.
also did it with elementary schools too, because they try to make it so that the children go to elementary schools in the neighborhood. And people will ask because they'll want their children to go to the newest and the best school. And those are typically the ones that are getting rezoned.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I've
I mean,
definitely heard that.
you make a good point, and they do change, and as long as the people purchasing properties within that school district knows, hey, they change, I have no control over it. That's up to them to decide whether they want to buy something in a particular school district. But this is a way at least to find properties within the school district as of right now this year. Next year, properties may change. Who knows? The lines may change. But yeah, you raise a good point about the importance of, if it's important to the purchaser that they are in a particular school district, they have to understand that you have no control over the changes that may happen in the future. Okay. All
I have a
right.
question on an earlier topic.
Sure.
You say attached, why that master? Attached and master, shouldn't they be the same?
On what I was talking about somewhere over here.
The bathroom.
Ah.
Attached bathroom.
We have gotten rid of the word master in here. Okay, so master's not used anymore. That was changed last year sometime. And we changed it to primary, for instance. Primary owners, that type of idea. So there shouldn't be any of them that say master bedroom, master bath. It's not used a term that we use in Bright anymore. Okay. All right. Let's get back to the map shapes. We talked about those. This is something that actually happened last month. Minor things, but important, certain places. New fencing options. We added aluminum and wrought iron as an option now, along with the other ones that were already there. Okay. All right. Next slide.
I'm sorry. I have a question again. Your subdivision that you add,
Mhm.
wouldn't that create a problem when you are doing a CMA?
I'm not sure. I mean, if it's a new we're not going to automatically add what you tell us. Okay, we're going to do the research to determine, yes, is this a new subdivision? And of course, if it is, we'll add it. But we're not going to. If you had been around with MRIS before we switched over to Bright, people could enter whatever they wanted for a subdivision name, and it created a real mess. Okay, because it was an open field. When we switched over to Bright, we locked that in, so you had to pick from a pool list, from a drop-down list, and that eliminated a lot of that. So, as I say, it is. We're not going to add them automatically because you're saying, oh yeah, there's a new one. We'll do the research and make sure that that this is something we need to add. Okay.
Understood.
All right. All right. Let's see. Let's continue on. Listing assistant. Now, this has been out a while. I just want to explain what it is in case you aren't familiar with it. Listing assistant allows you to add your listings in a much quicker manner, because what you can do is you can look up old listings, because there's a good chance that property you're listing today is in the database somewhere. It was on the market before. So the listing assistant allows you to pull some of that information into your new listing, thus saving you the time of adding that particular information in. Okay. This isn't a class about how to use it, but it is a definite benefit to speed up the creation of new listings. Now, keep in mind, you're still responsible for what you copy over. So what you copy over has to be accurate. You can't say, well, that old agent had this, so it must be this. You have to make sure. Okay. This one, be aware when you're adding a new listing, compliance reminders. There's, of course, 3 fields for remarks. There is the office remarks, office private remarks, which means anybody in your office, or the only people in your office are the only ones that can see those remarks. Then there are agent private remarks, which means any agent within Bright can see the remarks. And then the public remarks. And there are restrictions for the public remarks, such as web addresses, can't put those in, email addresses, phone numbers. If you enter any of that information, this green bar should pop up and tell you, hey, we have detected something in here that should not be in here. It's against our rules. If you get this green bar popping up when you enter something, make sure you delete what you enter, because I almost guarantee you will be fined if you publish it with that in there. Okay. So it's all automated now. So it isn't like, Bright has to search for it. It's automated. The system will pick it up right away and notify you that it is wrong. So pay attention if you get this green bar and you're entering something in public remarks that doesn't belong. Okay. We expanded the T3 home demand index. Home demand index is a way to determine what is the demand in a particular area. And when these figures are compiled, and it's done monthly, it's updated monthly, we look at what you, the agent, is looking for today. Where are you searching? What properties you're looking at? Where you're making appointments, showing appointments, and also what the public is searching on the Bright Public website. So those are factors that are happening today, right now, when we compile these statistics to determine how much demand is in that particular area. And of course, it's broken down by zip code. And for the major metropolitan areas, it is also broken down by property type. Okay. So it's interesting. And by the way, you can share this with your client. This is not behind any kind of passwords or anything like that. It's homedemandindex.com. It's a public available website. Request and add subdivision or building name. Well, I talked about subdivision. It's a lot easier now to add the subdivision because we've added that update. This slide was created before that came out in the update last night. But also you can add building names. Okay, it's under the data corrections policy. If you click there and you scroll down, you'll see subdivision or building name request. Click there and it'll bring up this form. So you can go ahead and add that. We added the MLS number to the portal email displays. Now, when you email a client, they receive an email from you. Of course, it'll list a couple listings. It'll also give you a link. And when you click on that link, it'll take them into what's called the client portal. Well, the initial email now has the MLS numbers on it. Didn't used to be that way. It just had the address, pictures, and the cost, basically what you're looking at here. Okay. As if there's any office exclusives out there, brokers now have access to all of them that have been submitted. And also, if you have submitted them as an agent, you have access to those. Before we could submit them, but you wouldn't be able to see that you've added them. But now you can see that. Hot sheets. You can now have up to 25 custom hot sheets. Hot sheets, of course, are on the workspace, that the home page. And it's a good way to monitor things because you can customize each individual hot sheet. You can have them actually all residential if you want to do that. And then it gives you a time frame. How far back do you want to monitor? How far back do you want to look at listings? You can do up to 30 days back if you want. Favorite searches. If you do favorite searches, you used to have a limit of 10. Now you have a limit of 25 favorite searches. So we upped that also. We updated the display for the My Hit Counters. Of course, you can go into your listings, select this little drop-down menu, select My Hit Counters, and you can see who has been clicking on your listings. And as you can see right across the top, it will tell you who clicked on them. All right, not physically who the person is, but are they agents, are they clients, that type of thing, and who clicked on them. And it'll give you the number of clicks. Photo upload, listing management. We did update this screen in the past year. Easier now to upload multiple photos at the same time. You can also edit the photo by clicking on it. You can rotate it. You can change the brightness, contrast on it. You can crop it if you need to. You can easily resort these by just dragging and dropping them. Keep in mind, of course, a street side photo is required in here, but it is not required as the main photo. Okay. And you do see that occasionally. You'll go through looking at listings and you see an interior view. That's fine. You can have an interior view, but there must be one of the other photos must have a street view of the property. All right. And normally from what I've seen, if there's an interior view, it looks very nice. Eventually you scroll over and you see the street view, and now you know why it's not the primary photo. Teams, we added a teams option here. If you are part of a team, there is a way to rank in each individual team member. Now, the primary team member, of course, gets the credits, but this way you'll be able to monitor each individual team member's productivity. There is an enhancement coming up for this. Haven't seen when or exactly what it's going to do, but we are working on a new enhancement for this. So you'll be able to do more to it. I do want to mention, we are going to be rolling out this sometime. Again, I haven't gotten a date, but I think this will help too. Right now, you have to add your photos yourself. Once we roll this out, you will be able to give your photographer access to your listings to upload your photo for you, or your photos for you. They will be able to upload them. You will not have to do them. Obviously, you'll be able to go in after they're uploaded and move them around and check them out. And, before they're published or anything, you'll have to give your okay. But in the meantime, they'll do the upload, which will save you, again, additional time. Okay. So that's coming out sometime. And I haven't gotten a date on that yet, so I don't know. That actually is the last slide I have. Do I have any questions on basically anything that you might have questions on?
All right.
All right. Silence means I guess I covered everything.
Could be the weather too.
Yeah, it's certainly not like it was Monday, it's for sure.
Right. Awesome. Well, if there's no more questions, I think we can let everyone go. Steve, thank you so much for joining us today. Lots of good information.
You're welcome.
Again, everyone, thank you. We will have another Q&A next month. If anything comes up in the meantime, feel free to shoot the office an email, give us a call. But until then, we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, everyone.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye.